Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Billy Wilder Theater. I'm Claudia Bester. I'm the Director of Public Programs here at the Hammer Museum, and it's a real pleasure to have you all here tonight for the first of our Summer Night Cinema series. This year's Summer Night Cinema focuses on some of the best documentaries of the year. The films come from across the globe, and they cover art, politics, war, gender, and love. Tonight, we're honored to present the new film, Daughters. Daughters takes place in Washington, D.C., and describes a unique program for girls and their incarcerated fathers. It's both a look at how the prison industrial complex affects kids whose childhoods are subjected to the punishment of mass incarceration, and it's also a universal journey that reminds us of our shared humanity and need for parental love. Daughters premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival, where it was awarded both the U.S. Documentary Audience Award and the Festival Favorite Award. The film was picked up by Netflix to start streaming on August 4th on the Netflix platform, and we want to thank Netflix for letting us have this special sneak preview screening. After tonight's film, we're really thrilled to have the co-director of Daughters, Natalie Rae, here with us for a post-screening Q&A, moderated by film critic Beandrea July. So please stick around for that. And before we begin the film, I want to mention two upcoming Hammer programs that you might be interested in. Our next Summer Night Cinema screening will be next Tuesday, July 23rd, where we'll screen the new documentary Frida. And then Thursday, July 25th, we're hosting a big, fun outdoor summer concert with the band Philharmonic and DJs Mona Lisa and Alea. If you want to stay updated about our upcoming programs and events at the Hammer, please be sure to sign up for our newsletter. You can do that on our website, out in the theater lobby, or at the reception desk where you came in. And now, please enjoy this really beautiful film, Daughters. Wasn't that just gorgeous? I'm really, really excited that we have the co-director of the film, Natalie Rae, here. So please join me in welcoming Natalie Rae and film critic Beandrea July.
All right, let's give it up for Daughters. Is this on? Okay. Well, wow, wasn't that amazing? Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, and thank you, Natalie, for coming down to speak to us about your wonderful film.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so I when I was doing the research for this, I actually went and watched the TED Talk because I read that it was Angela Patton, your co-director's TED Talk, that made you even start this film. And if you all have time later, Google that because it really is like a perfect complement to this film. But what I discovered was that a lot of the TED Talk is kind of excerpted in that beginning portion of the film where you hear the woman talking about the importance of fatherhood. That comes from the TED Talk. And so I wonder if you could tell us, like, how did you go from watching that TED Talk to this?
Yeah, and great question. I think the TED Talk was just so poignant and so haunting. I hope you guys all have a chance to watch it. It is like its own, it's like such a vessel. And it just hit me on so many levels. And it was something I'd like never experienced before, from the ideas about our fathers being our mirrors, and like that, how we feel about our fathers reflects how we feel about ourselves, and goes on to sort of inform what we attract into our lives. And so there were just so many things that Angela said in that TED Talk that struck me so deeply at that time in my life. The wisdom of a child, that young women, they have this wisdom before you kind of get older, and fear and society tend to sort of like make us think about the risk factors and the no's. But when you're young, maybe you just have that deep connection to your intuition, and ideas like this can be born from it. So initially it was really just like a very visceral experience. But I just started having visions of how powerful it would be. I could see the girls coming in, going through security, the sort of like detailed and the humbleness of like the fathers to get ready and do their hair and be nervous and just like be awestruck and have that power that these young girls would have in this space in a jail where who knows, there's so many reasons why people are there and this machismo and this like power dynamic that these young, beautiful girls would come in and just like reign over everything. I just could feel that so much. And I think that has always been in my mind, and it's beautiful that that's what's in the film. So it's cool. It's rare that these things happen and you have a vision and then you get to make it.
Yeah, for sure. And so how I noticed, it's interesting that Angela is your co-director, but she's also a character in the film.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that?
In many ways, I mean, I think that it was important for us to tell the story together. Her storytelling in that TED Talk got me passionate about like how we could tell this story. And I'd always hear her voice in my head going through the first ideation. So it was like, why not just work on this together? Like you're a strong storyteller. I'm a first time feature documentary filmmaker. Like this is going to be stronger with the two of us. And
so you invited her into co-directing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I just was like, it's going to be better. I'm going to have stuff that I don't know. You're going to have stuff that you don't know. Like, let's just bring our skills together. And I think that's really cool about what, women can do and things that are just a little bit more unconventional. We were just like, well, we trust each other. So let's just go hard and make it the best that we can. And I think it's important that I had that like ability to step back, the objectivity, because she is in the film and she's putting on the program. So there's a part where I have to be that fly on the wall and observe Angela as a character and what are her obstacles and how does she navigate the moms and get everyone to do this thing. But at the same time, her letting me into her community and building trust with the families. And she was like, Nat, like, I know what I work with hundreds of these girls all the time. So if you want to tell this story, go and spend time with them and you go and sit and talk to them and spend, the hours recording and start to learn like what they're really going through. So she opened up that opportunity for me to really understand what it was like to like be a daughter in this situation. And that has changed my life forever. So I think, it was just a beautiful way of like sharing our own experiences, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a perfect segue into a question. I kept thinking about like all this access that you had to get and all this permission that you had to get because you're working with, incarcerated folks, right? So they're shooting inside of a prison, which I imagine isn't necessarily easy to get. And then you're working with children, and then children who are in this vulnerable circumstance. So how did you tell us a little bit about the process of both getting access to shoot and then getting the girls' mothers on board and the girls, like how was that? Were they super open to being filmed or tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So initially we were going to do the film around the father-daughter dance that was taking place in Richmond, Virginia, where it started. So Angela had done 10 or 11 of these, and there had been like news cameras in there in the past. So she already had a track record of like a successful program, a successful dance. I don't think we would have ever gotten the opportunity to do a documentary like this if it wasn't like a 10-year plus program. So it's incredible that we were able to kind of stand on the shoulders of the work that she had done. And then when she was asked by the Washington, D.C. facility, we went together and told them about that we wanted full access to film the fatherhood circles, interviews, being in the cells. And we had a very innovative program manager who was like, I've been following this program and I've seen its success and I want to do something different. And she really advocated for us on the inside. And I think that you really need that for anything. You need that person on the inside who's really laying the groundwork. And she'd probably been working for a year on her team to like get us to the point where we were having a meeting with them. So we were very lucky for that, but that access still took 3.5 years of us like pushing really hard because the Richmond jail actually put the program on hold. So we had to deal with a lot of politics there. Then it was canceled, then a new facility, then work with them. So we thought the film was going to get made each year, and then it kept on getting pushed. So it did take quite a long time and patience. And then with the families, it was really like a case by case basis. There's definitely some families that just weren't interested in meeting or filming at all. But I think that once most of them had the chance to meet with us and just understand, and we asked them what they wanted from the experience, then a lot of them ended up like inviting us over and just letting us sort of get to know them. But that's what Angela does. One of the biggest barriers in girls not being able to go to the dance is the comfort of the mom who is like, wants to protect their child. Maybe they haven't had the best relationship with the father. It's probably very nerve-wracking putting your child into, a jail or a prison without knowing how that experience is going to be. And so that can be a big barrier. So a lot of Angela's work is calling the moms, going to talk to them, and again, saying, this has been happening for 10 years and these are all the beautiful outcomes and all the daughters that have like been really excelling because of it.
Right. Yeah. I imagine Aubrey didn't take much convincing, but I don't know.
No.
She's a star.
Yeah.
Just, all of the girls, actually. I mean, I really marveled at the casting. I don't know what your options were, but it felt like the four you chose were a really perfect match. They all kind of brought out different aspects of the experience. And how was it for you kind of being embedded with them in their day-to-day lives in these really kind of intimate moments that the film shows so beautifully?
I mean, I think it was quite organic with the four girls. We ended up just like really clicking, and there were like 6 main families, and then a couple of them weren't able to go to the dance because their dads either got like transferred or, something had shifted in their ability to attend. So it was really just this beautiful coincidence that we had 4 girls. They were all so different, and they were the ones that were really passionate about. The moms were very interested, and they were also just so wanting me to be part of the experience with them and enjoyed talking with me. And ages 5, 10, 11, 15, and they also span this sort of like emotional, kind of the storm that we kind of thread throughout the film in terms of like the beginning and the optimism and the unknowing to the anger to like depression. So that was really, I feel like it was just fate that brought that all together. And there wasn't really ever a moment where we were like, that girl, not that girl. It was just like these girls came and, wanted to be in it. So it worked out.
Yeah, I know. As I had said earlier, you're on the festival circuit. You kicked it off with your Sundance debut, winning 2 awards, which is amazing at Sundance.
So crazy, so surreal.
And I know that some of the girls, maybe all of them, were there at the screening.
Yeah, they were, all of them, and the moms, and Mark and Frank. Yeah.
Wow, and
it was incredible.
What was it like? What can you tell us about how it was for them to see the film?
We showed them the film on their own in the fall before Sundance, just to kind of like see if they had any notes or changes they wanted to make. And that was really emotional, particularly because Raziah's father had been sentenced like the same day that she was coming to the screening, and her mom still really wanted to go. And we were like, we can, do it another day. And they were just like, look, if this is part of our silver lining, this is part of our story, this is something that we want to use in this moment. And that was, I don't know, that's really hard to really understand and put yourself in that position. Like, her father got 30 years, and then she's also going and about to watch the last time that she was with him physically and was able to hug him and everything. So that was very powerful. And I think that intimate screening was really important because at Sundance is very different when there's a lot of cameras and people, and the energy is very exciting. And so I think that everyone was like experiencing something very new and outside, but it was nice that we got the opportunity to have a very like, personal, like family experience before and get their thoughts on it.
You all start thinking of your questions because we're going to open it up in a little bit. Yeah, I was really struck by the juxtaposition visually of, what they call inside, inside the prison, and then the girls' lives outside, and how seamlessly you went back and forth. And I just wondered, I was also thinking about too, how Angela says, she wanted the girls to connect with their fathers on their own terms, right? I just love that language because
Totally. It's so great. It always sticks with me too.
yeah,
On their
yeah,
own terms.
right, yeah. So I just wondered, how did you approach? Like, did you know from the beginning, visually we're gonna have this seamless back and forth, or how did that emerge? Like your visual storytelling.
I think that there was always just this clear vision from me and our cinematographer and Angela that we wanted it to be from the girls' perspective and the spirit of these girls, this like courageous, vivacious, without being overly stylized or slick or this or that. It was like very honest, very confident, like look me in the eye, be real. And I think we're always taking inspiration. Each girl also has their own style that they're captured in and the own kind of camera movement. But at the same time, they all have a cohesive feeling, and it is extremely powerful and vibrant and captivating because it was all about seeing their resilience and their wisdom and their strength. Things that just came in naturally were like their movement, their shared appreciation of music and dance, which is obviously very thematic and on their own terms. They're going to have their dads dance with them, like one of their favorite things to do outside, and you see that happening with them and themselves and their moms. So a lot of that was organic from how we wanted it to see in our minds, as very like lyrical kind of visceral vérité style. And then Aubrey and Santana, they just have such strong personalities that you can't help but the whimsy of Aubrey and like the grittiness of Santana. Like they tell you what their visual style is going to be. But then with the fathers, it was really important, obviously, just coming in, everyone's a human in the story. And these are fathers, and we were never going to ask them or talk to them about what their sentences were, get into any of that. So we were lucky that this facility had this beautiful room with this like big round window and natural light. And we were like, can we please shoot there like every time we get together with the fathers, because this is just going to be this like very grounded natural light. So we'd always turn off the lights and just like put the circle near the window. And then I would leave, Angela would leave, and Cambio, who is a young like Black Afro cinematographer who also had a mom incarcerated for like 7 or 8 years. He would normally just like sit in the circle with the fathers, introduce himself. They'd all get on a conversation. And then eventually he'd like pick up the camera and it'd be quite seamless. And so I think just creating an environment where people feel really comfortable and we're really mindful of the energy in the space allows that sort of like cohesiveness between the two worlds to exist.
Yeah, great. I guess I feel like I should just say, it's August 14th, right? When the
August 14th, yeah.
On Netflix, the movie comes out. If you were really moved by this film, get on your communication, however you communicate with people, and tell them what your experience was with this film, and get them to watch and stream on August 14th. I want to say that before I forget. Are there any questions out there? I saw in the middle here in the back, the young man with locks. Yeah, go for it. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's someone coming here with a mic so everyone can hear. Yeah.
So my question is really, I can only imagine how burdened you and Angela must feel, especially Angela, having a strong connection with these girls and then going on to the next. And, being in film, it's kind of like easy for us to just go to the next thing. How are you guys staying intentional with the girls and the families even after the film has came out? And how do you plan to continue to keep that relationship strong so they know it's not just we did a project and we're done, but no, we're actually here for you?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think after like the 6 or 7 years that we've been ingrained with these families, like our lives will never be apart from being so close with all of them, because most of the times that I've spent with these families is not filming. It's like birthday parties, Christmas, hospital visits, funerals. There's just a lot of friendship and life that happens in the middle. So different than Angela, who works with like hundreds of families. I'm in this film working with these 4, so I feel like they're just always going to be part of my life. And yeah, in different ways, like whether it's working on, what Aubrey wants to do next year in school, different side projects, things we're writing together. There's just a relationship that will always stay. But with the film, we have a education fund that's largely funded already for all the girls to have their universities paid for. We have an impact campaign that's great. Thank you.
Give it up for that.
Yeah. So we're really, really lucky that since we got that spotlight and some awards at Sundance, it really helped us like get some attention. So we were able to do the impact campaign. It's going to be helping to protect children's rights to have touch visits with their parents, and we'll start certain states and sort of move it across. The education fund is amazing that's there. And then also, Girls for Change, Angela's organization, is a continuum. So it's always there. There's so many resources. So between me and Angela, all the people at Girls for Change, these girls and the moms and fathers, and Chad included, always have a community to reach out to. So it's definitely just a long-term project with everybody.
Yeah. Let's see. I see someone in the back there. Where's the person with the mic? Yeah, go ahead and stand up. Yeah. Yes, you, person waving your hands. Yes.
Hello. Thanks for the awesome film. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you're from the DC area. So what was it like to get immersed with that community, like from your perspective? And then what's something that you learned from it that like you carry with you moving forward with whatever the next thing you do is?
Yeah, great question. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and like I've lived around, so Montreal, Toronto, LA for a bit, New York a little bit. Yeah, I mean, DC is a really interesting city. There's so many areas that are so different. And I think that I learned it like through these families largely. And then I'm sure that you can kind of go, oh, there's the touristy element and the downtown. And mostly we were like in Southeast or like really north. And I would say just like learning from the neighborhoods and the girls, like what their day-to-day lives were, I felt like I was able to just like understand their world and see DC through their eyes. So it's interesting though, being in that paradigm. DC was an interesting city for us because the dynamics are so in your face in terms of like this jail is 5 minutes from the White House. Then you have these families that are, dealing with like so many different things that are right across from all these big, rich Parliament buildings. So it feels, it's hard to see that, and it's uncomfortable, honestly, being in that city and like staying in certain areas. And so I would mostly just hang out with the families. But I think that, I don't know, they gave me so much faith in the human spirit and our ability to forgive and love and find healing and hope within ourselves that like, I don't know, these girls being able to like allow me, a film, cameras, go through this experience to like see their fathers with like so much separation or, different situations, not knowing their father, having resentment, anger, but doing that, I think is just so brilliant and shows so much depth. And so I just feel like they're always such an inspiration when people are like, oh, I don't want to do this, or I'm not going to forgive that, or I'm frustrated about this. It's like, look at what these young girls did. And I just feel like humans are capable of a lot when we look at what they did.
Yeah. I want to take one more question, but before I do, I want to make sure that we get a chance to hear you because, I watched Angela's part, both of your speech when you received the awards at Sundance, and Angela really gave this strong call to action about people getting engaged. And obviously this is such a moving story that tugs at the heartstrings, but there's also this issue of like lack of visitation rights, which I actually didn't really know that much about. And I wonder if, because I assume, in popular culture, like, Orange is the New Black, like so much of that is like visitation in the show, right? Obviously that's fiction, but, is it something that came out of COVID where there's this increase in lack of visitation or of video visitation and it kind of stuck, or has it been
It's actually
a chronic
before.
problem?
And so
Okay.
frustratingly, people think that it is COVID related and then it just stays like most of our sort of like Zoom and working remotely and whatnot. But largely it was before that. So even when we were doing the initial interviews in 2019 before COVID, every single father and daughter said to the question, what would you like to change about this circumstance? It wasn't like, get my dad out of jail. It was like, I want to touch him. And it was all about these real visits and these human visits being taken away in more the recent years, so more 2014. And we didn't know that touch and these touch visits were going to be such a central theme in this. But then because of every single person was talking about it, then you research, okay, it had just started to get closed down. And then Diamond and the moms are like, oh, I just got this app and now I'm being asked to pay. And, everyone was kind of like just being forced to go down a certain path. So that became like really a central theme, obviously.
Yeah, and if people want to do something about, whatever the injustices that the film kind of highlights, do you all have, is that part of your impact campaign, or what
Exactly.
would you? Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing an impact campaign around awareness and around ways that we can like protect children's rights to have touch visits with their incarcerated parents. But because everything is regulated differently per state, it's complicated. That's why it's so hard to change anything in the criminal justice system. So we're going to start probably in Maryland, close to where Angela is based. And so we're working on that now. And then we'll also have a program where you can look, if you're in other states, get a toolkit and take it home to like your city and your facilities and start using the film and our toolkit to raise awareness around this issue.
Okay, so people should follow the Daughters documentary on Instagram.
Yeah.
What is the handle?
It's Daughters Documentary.
Okay.
At Daughters Documentary. And then we also have daughtersdocumentary.com. So we'll be keeping everything updated as the impact campaign grows. Yeah.
Awesome. One last question here. I'm going to go with the young person over here. Okay, well, melanin does things.
Thank you very much. I really want to say kudos to you and your team. I don't know if there's like a frame or a note that's not perfect in the film. It's really incredible, and especially hats off to your cinematographer. I work with people who experience incarceration. I had a dad who was a political prisoner when I was young, and so it's touching on so many levels, but what I feel like it's such a metaphor in a way. What the daughter's experience is this, concentrated microcosm of what our society does, and that we hide these folks away and we dehumanize them in a million little ways, and then we keep them further and further apart from us, and so we don't care about their humanity and the cruelties that happen to them in that system. And I guess if I have a question for you, it would be, how is your view of the system at large changed through doing this work? And how can we, along with work like what you're doing, how can we keep the human beings who are in these systems more real to us who are not in the system?
Great question. I think I knew very little of interacting with the system. So being in Canada, there's it's different situation. There's prisons and jails, but it's far less, and we're not incarcerating nearly as many people. So I was very removed. But I don't think I came into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to meet a bunch of like criminals that are going to be assholes and super scary. I think I was like, I'm going to go in and meet a bunch of human beings. But I did think there would be more resistance to the talking. And I thought that, okay, it's going to be nerve-wracking. I might be put on the spot. I really thought that it was going to be more awkward to go inside and like talk to the fathers, but that wasn't the case at all. They were just like so open, so gentle, so respectful, and so like articulate with their stories that like from the first day I was like, okay, this is, gonna be great. And these are all like really loving human beings. And that was the group that we were in. I just think that these kind of stories, like, really hearing that the podcast Ear Hustle, there's few but really compelling and amazing places that take the time, because the access is so hard. So telling these stories is hard, but they're all human beings, and most people are in there for the wrong reasons or wrongly convicted. There's so many awful reasons why people, and we know that there's documentaries like The 13th. So this isn't trying to explain why certain people are locked up and how awful this system is, but it is trying to show you the humanity. And so I just think the more we can share stories like this, the better. I think that's the strongest way.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Let's give it up for Daughters and for Natalie.
Thanks so much for coming, you guys. Appreciate it.
August 14th on Netflix.
Yeah, thank you.